Go ahead. Josue, can we get the student speakers on there? Oh, okay. Here we go.
You're good to go.
Good to go?
Yes.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and I wish you and your families good health, and we're proud of each and every one of you for your continued efforts, and the teachers, administrators, and families. This is the student representatives from the Springfield Empowerment Zone, and we have a number of speakers, so I think we were prepped, and we really have to stay till about 1.5 minutes, unfortunately, so we get everybody in, so we move to our formal meeting. And my old alma mater, M. Marcus Kiley, Prep Middle School is in the house. Kiara Coleman is here. She's supported by Julia St. Martin principal and Sarah Berliner, the ELA teacher. So Kiara, let me turn it over to Principal St. Martin first, but then Kiara, she's going to tee it up for you. Principal St. Martin.
Good morning, good afternoon. It's not morning, it feels like it. I'm just gonna turn it over to Kiara. I'm really grateful that Ms. Berliner helped her prepare her speech. Kiara, take it away.
Thank you, Kiara.
Her name is Kyra, but she's very excited to speak with you. So Kyra, you can unmute yourself now.
Okay, I apologize.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kyra. I'm in 6th grade at Kiley Prep. It's easier for me to do remote learning. Sometimes there are internet crashes, but we still do the work online. And sometimes that's easier because we have all these pictures to help you, and sometimes you can ask for help and go into a conference room. When you're going into school, you might be shy and not want to raise your hand, but on the computer you just have to unmute, and not as much in physical school. I'm really shy and it takes me a while to warm up to people. On the computer at Kiley, we all get along automatically. We can email the teachers and have meetings so we can understand and get more help from the teachers about our grades and work. I like using Amplify for science because we can drag different molecules and cells into the body models, and that's fun. I like Learn Zillion for math because we also get to drag things. We aren't just sitting there looking at the picture, we're interacting with it. Thank you.
Good job. Good job. And I got it right. Kyra, am I right? Okay, my apologies. Marcus Kiley Academy is still in the house. Patria Castillo Rodriguez, supported by Dr. Timothy Bush, who's been a student, of course, and Ms. Marcel Quamini, associate principal. I pronounced your name wrong. I apologize. Please correct me. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Bush or the associate principal, Ms. Quamini.
Commissioner Ward, thank you, Mayor Sarno. I have the privilege of introducing Patria Castillo Rodriguez. I consider all these scholars at the Academy at Kiley special, but when you have someone who is special amongst the special, well, that's special. So without further ado, I present to you Ms. Patria Castillo Rodriguez with a 4.11 GPA and 100% attendance in every single class, sir.
Oh, wow, excellent.
Patria, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Sarno, Commissioner Warwick, and other school committee members. Now that I have been able to experience remote learning, one word comes to my mind when I think of remote learning: challenging. I think of the word challenging because remote learning can be incredibly hard. With technology issues, distractions, stress from the pandemic, and just being home and trying to remember you're in school. All these things make remote learning hard. Kiley Academy has taught me it's not hard, but challenging. Remote learning is just an obstacle we are all overcoming. This is all one big adventure of new experiences. There are also moments in remote learning that make you feel and makes you think of school as fun despite all the problems. Those moments when your teacher is pushing you to your hardest and you finish a test or assignment and you pass with flying colors, like my teachers do for me. You feel that accomplishment and joy because you know you did your best. My teachers at Kylie pushed me to be my best. I feel that sense of accomplishment and joy when I'm in school because I know I have worked my hardest. Thank you.
Dr. Peter, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, Dr.
Yes.
Bush, just as a, Dr. Bush, are you there?
Yes, sir.
When you first came on, your background, you had green horns coming out of your head. I just thought.
Well, believe me, it may be jealousy after seeing that speech. I tell you that right now. But no, that's our Kylie symbol. Just turned backwards. But you see why Patria was our representative. Incredible young lady. And like I told you before, you are looking at Springfield's first Latina mayor. So just get ready.
All right.
Yes.
Very good. You like that. Thank you. Marcus Kylie is still in the house. This is middle school, grade 7 and 8. And Nevaeh Branyan, Legacy Moy. If I pronounce your name wrong again, please correct me. My apologies. Supported by Celeste Fina, interim principal, Giselle Richards, Janice, assistant principal, and Deanna Johnson, teacher. So whoever would like to open up first, go right ahead. And again, if I said your name wrong, please correct me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and hello, Springfield. I see a lot of familiar faces here. I am so privileged to take this moment to introduce, yes, Ms. Johnson, one of our wonderful, most wonderful humanities teachers at Kylie. And we have Ms. Legacy Moy and Ms. Nevaeh Branyan. So take it away. Legacy, why don't you go first?
Good evening. My name is Legacy Moy and I'm an 8th grader at Kylie Middle School. My favorite part of remote learning at Kylie would be how accessible and thought out the assignments are for every student. My least favorite part would have to be not being able to have peer interaction. Not just socially, but working in groups and big projects is a big challenge in remote learning. I would love to see more breaking into small groups as the school year goes if we stay in remote. Small group learning is one of my favorite things to do, and I think it could be very effective in learning virtual social interaction and not knowing how long the pandemic will last. Staying engaged in virtual learning just might be the hardest thing I've done so far this year. My ELA teacher, Ms. Little, and my guidance counselors have been a big support system to keep me focused and motivated. My goals for my future, in my opinion, are really big, and I have been inspired to give the best of my abilities and to use my experiences to better my future. I would love to start a therapeutic dance center. To achieve my goal, I'd like to study psychology and performing arts. Springfield Public Schools has helped me a lot with that, exposing me to performing arts and hiring such inspiring teachers. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I hope everyone has a great evening.
Great presentation, Legacy.
Fabulous, Legacy. Nevaeh?
Nevaeh?
Okay. Good evening. My name is Nevaeh Branyan. I'm a 7th grader at Kylie Middle School. I would like to speak briefly about how school has been for me since COVID-19. I think remote learning has its pros and cons. One positive has been learning to manage my time better. As a result, I have improved from first honors to maximum honors from the last school year. At first, the con was not being in person for certain subjects. For me, some subjects such as math and science are easier to do in person. For example, not being able to do partner work and break up into groups in math was a struggle of mine at the start of the year. However, with the help of my teachers, I've learned that the best way to learn is by asking questions. My teachers have always made themselves available for extra help. Even when we're experiencing internet problems, they're always so understanding, trying to troubleshoot whatever is wrong. Thank you for making the changes to make it possible for me to learn, even though we're not in the building.
Thank you. Thank you. John F. Kennedy Middle School in the house, and I know that overall principal Mike Calvin is also in the house. Jahlil Vasquez, supported by Ms. Imani Hines Coombs, assistant principal, and Mr. Matthew Sullivan, associate principal. So I'll leave it for an opening, and then we'll go to Jahlil.
Good evening, everyone. Jahlil is a sixth grade student who loves to play soccer and read anime in his free time. His teachers describe him as a resilient leader who was driven and meticulous. And his speech was, he was helped by our counselor, Miss Gould. Without further ado, I give you Jahlil Vasquez.
Okay. Jahlil, what position you play in soccer? I was a crazy goalie in high school and college. What position?
When I was younger, I used to probably, I think it was goalie as well, actually.
All right, we stick together, goalies.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jahlil Vasquez, and I am a sixth grader at John F. Kennedy Academy. I would like to take this opportunity to share a few things about my middle school experience. My teachers are incredibly fun and actually make me want to learn. Even though online learning has its challenges, I've learned so much. When I started this year, I was testing at 5th grade level on Math iReady. And now I'm working on 7th grade math standards on iReady, and I'm only in 6th grade.
Whoa.
My teachers are also very engaging. For example, there's a competition I'm doing in math class. We do certain activities to gain points, whereas the most points gets a box full of snacks sent to their house. My teachers are super nice and always give me extra time to work on assignments. They never yell at students or get mad at them for misbehaving. Instead, they would talk to them and find out why they were misbehaving. The environment of the school is very chill and fun, but we still learn a lot. When I first started, I was surprised that the teachers and the students were very fun and most of all, chill. One of the special things we do is enrichment. Enrichment is a variety of workshops we choose from every Friday. We also have a pen pal program. Students write letters to an adult with a job that the student would like to learn about. Thank you for taking your time to hear my speech. I want you to know I really enjoy my school and I'm excited to see what happens in my 7th and 8th grade years at JFK.
Way to go, Jahlil. You made that big save. Way to go. Way to go. Chestnut Tag is in the house. Nigela, or Councilor Johnson, Cenaya, Sylvia, supported by teacher Marlene Marcellin. So Ms. Marcellin, I don't know if she wants to open up first.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce Nigela Johnson and Cenaya Sylvia. These are two intelligent, thoughtful, and beautiful young women who will share with you their experiences at Chestnut Tag, and I hope that you are inspired by them as much as I am each and every single day.
Thank you.
Nigela, would you open us up?
I don't mind. Good evening. My name is Nigela, and I am an 8th grade student at Chestnut Tag. I've been attending Tag since the 6th grade. Ever since last year on March 13th, that's the day that my life changed. When remote learning came about, I was really confused and really scared because I had to get used to learning through a computer, which was really, really hard for me because like some other people said, learning some certain subjects in the building and in person is way easier than through a computer. But now that I'm halfway through 8th grade, I've learned to adapt, and with the help of my peers and my teachers, I've gotten used to learning through Zoom. Something that I look forward to achieving this year before my 8th grade year ends is finishing out this year strong with good grades and hopefully getting into my #1 high school that I balloted for. And hopefully by that time, this COVID-19 thing is cleared up and I am free to go back and I'm free to go to 9th grade in person.
Nigela, nice job. If that, for anybody on there, if that beeping there, God forbid, smoke detector or carbon monoxide detector, so lady needs a battery, so if you can check that, okay? I hate not to say that. I want to say that just to make sure, God forbid, please. No disrespect at all on that. Nice job, Nigela. And
Cenaya,
you're up.
Cenaya. Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Cenaya. I'm an 8th grader at TAG, and I like to play volleyball. I've also been at TAG since 6th grade, and I never thought I want to be in a school with like a small environment, but my peers and staff have definitely changed my mind about that. I see how such a close-knit community it was, and my stay definitely got better. Everyone here knows one another, which makes it so easy and comfortable when communicating with each other. For the most part, we all get along well. TAG has really helped me prepare for high school and has kept me with updates and further information. I hope to get into my #1 school, high school. I get calls and emails, and I'd say it It's an understatement to call my 8th grade year a roller coaster. It's been more of an amusement park. Since COVID-19, it's been a bit of a challenge to interact with my friends and peers in a school environment, but I know staff and guidance are working towards helping us end the year off strongly, like with our new schedule change. However, through it all, I've been supported the entire way thanks to my Chestnut Tech family.
Cenaya, nice job. Could I don't want to do copyright infringement. Could I maybe use that line, especially with some of the days I have, a roller coaster to amusement park? Because I don't.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, thank you, dear. I appreciate that. Chestnut Impact Prep is in the house, supported by Elena Percy, teacher, Marika Turner, Director of Family Community Engagement of Chestnut Impact Prep, Leah Alice, and Reuben Zeno, or I think it's Zeno, if I pronounce it wrong, please correct me, are in the house. So intros, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I have 2 of our Impact Prep students. They are both in National Junior Honor Society, and they've maintained a very high GPA despite being in virtual learning. So we're going to have Leah Alas go first, and then Reuben Zeno will follow.
Okay. Leah?
Hello, my name is Leah Alas, and I am, like Ms. Turner said, I am part of the National Junior Honor Society. And I am excited to be in this meeting. So some topics that like matter to the kids in Impact Prep are like when we were in person at school, we saw how Thai kids got to wear like certain type of clothing, like hoodies that they gotta wear, and like certain pants they gotta wear for dress down. And when Impact kids had to go to the gym, we used to see some Thai kids look at us like they were like disgusted or like weirded out because we could only wear yellow and black, and our pants had to be school pants, and our shirts for dress on had to be long shirts. And because of that, we just felt really like bothered about how they used to look at us. So now with remote learning, all the kids at Impact actually feel okay because we don't have to like feel weirded out that because of other kids looking at us, and just like getting to wear like, of course, school appropriate clothes, but like more free clothes. And we get to talk freely, but using appropriate words, of course. And we just like, we like remote weather, but not in this condition, of course.
Nice job, Leah. Thank you. Reuben, you're up. Where's my man?
Hello, my name is Reuben Zeno, and I'm in 7th grade Impact Prep, and I'm also part of NJHS, also as National Junior Honor Society. And another topic that me and Leah was going through and stuff. We were also seeing like internet connection issues, like with students, like how like some of them they don't have time for them to go in, or like their internet is like acting up, so they like get late to class, or like they can't go into class. So like we're probably like thinking that like the school, like they can probably like provide free internet connection charges or something to help like those kids that like they don't have very good Wi-Fi, or if there's like a Wi-Fi is like acting up very bad.
Thank you, Reuben, very much. Appreciate that. Okay, Chestnut Academy Middle School is in the house, and we have Juliette. I'm going to pronounce that wrong, but I'm going to go DJ Feliciano Vaslazo, Jada Maya Garefa, and supported by Principal Diane Bauer. Again, please correct me if I put your dead name, which I think I did, so I apologize. Principal Bauer?
Good evening, everyone. Yes, it's Nigela, DJ Feliciano, and Jada Myra Garafa. They will be speaking tonight. They're two delightful girls. Thank you for all the speeches. They've been great. I just want to say through all of this, one thing for tomorrow, since it's going to be below zero, we'll probably be happy to be home and not having to go out in the morning to school. So I know Jada has sports right after this, so I'm going to ask Jada to go first. Okay, Jada, you ready?
All right, Jada.
Good evening, Mayor Sano, Superintendent Warwick, and members of the school committee. My name is Jada Maya. I'm an 8th grader at Chestnut Academy, and I've been part of the online learning this year. Personally, I really do enjoy online school because of its benefits. For example, not having to wake up super early to get ready for school, or making sure you have all your assignments packed in your bag. I also do enjoy the multiple websites that teachers have provided for us, like iReady, Quill, Gizmo, and even more. Plus, I know where all my work is at all time, which is very helpful and never gets confusing. Some of the things I do not like about online school is not having certain classes like gym or art. I miss having these classes because it gives my brain a little break. Another thing I do not like about online school is the lack of communication between students. All students use Zoom chats, but not everyone talks out loud like teachers. Personally, I would like to hear my classmates' voices so it's easier to communicate and I can ask questions and not be so nervous to give my answer. Other than that, I think that online school is an interesting new way to learn and it's super easy to get used to. Now, if we were offered to attend school again, I personally would not attend because I wouldn't want any chances of being or getting sick.
Thank you, Jada. Thank you. DJ, you're in the house.
Hi.
You like DJ or I didn't pronounce your first name correctly, so say it so I can say it properly.
It's Denisha Lees.
Denisha Lees, you're on.
All right. Good morning, Mayor Sarno, Superintendent Warwick, and members of the school committee. My name is Denisha Lees Feliciano, but everyone calls me DJ. I'm in 8th grade and I go to Chestnut Academy. We have been doing remote learning since September. There are multiple things remote learning can do to help you in your classes. It will save you time, money, and control over your own schedules. The good things are you can stay comfortable, eat, and use the bathroom without interrupting class. The work is on the computer, so it's organized better. My favorite class is science. I use an online learning platform called Gizmo that always allows me to do labs virtually. We do project-based learning. We play around with cells and learn about the human body and how the things work. A few bad things about remote learning is that we don't understand the work sometimes. People don't always want to speak up because they're shy or antisocial. They feel pressured and their brain has a hard time processing the lesson. I know this because I have friends that I talk to about remote learning to get their opinion. They also ask me for help when we're doing a lesson because they didn't understand. Therefore, I miss going to school because I miss socializing and greeting the teachers. I also miss staying after when I need help so I can understand the lesson better. I miss going to the library and the activities at school. But I don't want to go back to school because I'm afraid to get the virus and get my family sick. Thank you for your time.
Nice job, DJ. Chestnut Lyceum program is in the house. Sharon Lee Torres, Salo Martinez Sanchez, Juliette Lopez, Gianniel Garcia Santiago. They are supported by Francisco Victoria, the principal, if I pronounce that wrong, Kristen Easton, ELA teacher, Deborah DiStefano, ELA and ESOL teacher, and Dylan Ward, ELA teacher. So whoever wants to open up, and we'd love to hear from the kids.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I like to apologize. Sharon Lee could not make it, so Mr. Ward is not here. Mr. Albertorio sends his regrets. He is in his SEI course right now. So we have Ms. Easton is here with me, and we have Gianniel Santiago Garcia.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Gianniel Santiago, and I am 13 years old. I am in the 8th grade at Springfield Lacing College Preparatory. I like sports like basketball and soccer. I also like art to draw. I am a nice person. I love my community. Family is very important to me. I like to play chess with my brother and my stepdad. I like to eat Puerto Rican food or go to Dominican restaurant. I love learning new things. from my teachers because they explain well. I like Khan Academy and math class. In math class, I can learn both languages, English and Spanish. I like to learn that way because I know both languages. In social studies, I learn more about things that I have never heard before. I like about the founding father and the USA government. In science class, I learn about movement. When I go to Lyceum school, my teacher made me comfortable. I learned a lot of new things by watching videos and doing things in class. In my high school, I want to learn new things and play basketball. In the future, I would like to be a doctor and an officer because I want to save people and I want to help more people to be alive. I love my teacher, Mrs. Stefano and Miss Sistine. Thank you for being there every time and pushing me hard to my goals. Thank you, Springfield School District, for having me here, and I hope you have a great day.
Where we go, Mr. Santiago? Mr. Stefano, who's next?
That is, sir, because Lee could not make it. We are done. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're all set then? They couldn't make it? Okay, but I hope everything's okay. Okay. We will now close with Forest Park Middle School, and is supported by co-principal Sarah Macon. And I know I saw Sarah Bissonette on there and Giuliani Cologne. So I'll turn it over to, all right, Sarah, you're already clapping. You're ready to go. I like, you're in the house. I like that. That personality there, Moxie.
Well, she's got lots of personality and a great name with matches me. We have two student leaders tonight who want to share their experience. Sarah is a sixth grader who is one of our most active student council members, which is great having, never stepped foot in the building. And Giuliani, who is a seventh grader who will kick us off.
Great.
I also have my co-principal, Gerald Saunders, is here as well.
Okay. Thank you. Sarah, you're up.
Okay. Okay, I'm ready. Okay. Hi, Mr. Mayor. Hi, high school committee members, principals, students, and others. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to share. Thank you for this opportunity to let me share out with you all tonight. My name is Sarah Vaccination, and I'm a sixth grade student at Forest Park. Remote learning has been frustrating so far because of computer issues, but we get through when we have each other. One thing I have enjoyed participating in has been the student council because we get together, have fun, and most importantly, make the experience of remote learning fun. So far, I really enjoyed learning about Greek mythology and Greek gods with my English teacher, Miss Escorbano. Hi. I'm really looking forward to eating school lunch, seeing my friends in person, and being able to do hands-on learning when we are able to return to school in person. I love Forest Park Middle School because of the teachers, principals, and students. It is not the things these people do, it's the people doing it that makes the school a better place. Thank you for letting me share with you all tonight, and thank you for your time.
Here we go, Sarah. Giuliani.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Giuliani.
Good evening. I as well am thankful for the opportunity to share remote learning experience with you all tonight. My name is Giuliani and I'm a 7th grade student at Forest Park. So far, remote learning has been complicated, but okay, because I do have trouble learning in general because it's not the same as being in school in person. And technical problems do happen. But I think being at home, learning is comfortable and we still do have fun and we still do learn. So I can't say that it's horrible. Something interesting that I have learned in class is poetry, science, and health information that I was not familiar of. Besides classes, having fun and learning has been a highlight of remote learn. What I look forward to when I return to school in person is to make better and great memories when we go back together. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, very good. Right from the heart. Thank you, dear. Listen, I know from all the school community members and from Superintendent Warwick, we are so proud of each and every one of you and appreciate your families and teachers and staff and administration for continued efforts. We're gonna beat this COVID-19, and before you know it, we'll be right back together again. So good health, continued success to each and every one of you, for myself and all school committee members and Superintendent Warwick. That concludes the student representatives Springfield Empowerment Zone speak out and update, and we'll now conclude that meeting, and we will go in, we'll take a 1 minute or less recess, and we'll go into our regularly scheduled meeting. God bless you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Mayor, there was a student that didn't get to speak.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Chat.
Juliette Lopez.
I don't know if she's still on.
We don't, oh, Juliette from, yeah, what the teacher license. Yeah, the teacher said that they all could not make it, so I apologize.
Oh, yeah, she said she prepared a speech and she was ready to
All
speak.
right, well, then can we go? Here. Juliette, are you still there? Juliette, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, Juliette, last but not least, from Chestnut License Program, we apologize. So just when you thought you were out, we're gonna pull you back in. We want to hear from you. So go ahead, Juliette, I apologize.
Hello, my name is Juliette Lopez, and this is my short. Yeah, Springfield Licensed College Prep is the best thing that has ever happened.
We can't, could you be a little, we can't hear you that well, Juliette.
Can you hear me?
A little bit better.
Can you turn your volume up at all, Juliette?
Can you hear me?
Yep, that's better. That's better, dear.
Hello, my name is Juliette Lopez, and this is my short speech / essay. Being here at Springfield Lyceum College Prep is the best thing that has ever happened to me. Lyceum is a place where you can express yourself in your writing and other forms of work. Lyceum is a school where you can feel comfortable opening up about other things than school.
I'm making it work on time.
And you can talk about it with your teachers and staff. Getting your emotions out before school helps with the overall performance of a student and keeps their grades up. Higher grades makes it possible for students later in life to get into a good high school, therefore getting into a good college. Getting into a good college will help students to succeed and make a living for themselves and for the people around them. Lyceum has a wonderful STEAM options and like technology and dance. Lyceum has an amazing students and staff. That's why I say go Spartans.
Thank you, Juliette. Thank you for your patience. And my apologies, our apologies. Thank you, dear. Okay, that now does conclude officially the student representative speak out from the Springfield Empowerment Zone. We will now take about a 10-second break, and we'll go right into our regularly scheduled meeting. You're more than welcome to stay on. Host Way, are we ready to roll?
Just one meeting, just go.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Naylor?
Present.
Attorney Murphy?
Present.
Ms. Hurst?
Present.
Ms. Gresham?
Present.
Ms. Perez?
Maria?
Present.
Mr. Collins?
Here.
Mayor Sarno?
Present. Can we all please rise for a moment of silence and then the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We'll now move to section 2, approval of the minutes. Approve the minutes of December 17th, 2020 regular session, January 4th, 2021 organizational meeting, and January 14th, 2021 working session. Any questions or comments on it? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept? So moved. Motion by Vice Chair Collins, is there a second? Second by Ms. Hurst. Roll call vote is required due to the Zoom meeting aspects. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Naylor,
Yes.
Attorney Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Hurst,
Yes.
Ms. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mayor Sarno.
Yes, more than sufficient vote, this matter passes. Thank you very much. We'll now move to voting items. A is to approve the 2021-2022 school year calendar. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. We sent out a copy to you of the proposed calendar for next year, following the same format that we've been going with for years. That's 188 days for teaching staff. It's 180 day session for students. And we build 185 days into the student schedule, and school ends when we've been in session 180. So, we open for teachers on the 23rd, and school begins overall August 30th. And last day would be June 22nd, again contingent on when school has been in session 180 days. That's with an extra 5 days built in. And following the same format that we've been going with for a number of years now, 5 days in front for professional development convocation, and 3 PD days built in during the school year for a total of 8. So again, a very, very similar format to what we've been following.
Any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Ms. Naylor, yes.
I know that previously we talked about if there were snow days that perhaps the opportunity of being hybrid, having a hybrid or remote model on those days. Is that something that we're still entertaining, or is that just for this year while we're in the pandemic?
They've allowed school systems to do it for this year. I'm not sure if DESE will allow it in the future, but we'll check it. If we get the clarification on that, we'll let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
If
sir.
they allow us to do that again next year, it should be something we absolutely consider.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion on the floor? So moved. Motion by Vice Chair Collins, is second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gresham. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Naylor,
Yes.
Attorney Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Hurst,
Yes.
Ms. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mayor Sarno.
Yes, more than sufficient vote, this matter passes. E is to approve an expenditure of $486,822 from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE, for the FY21 Secondary Virtual Course Access Grant. Superintendent Ward, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Lydia, Assistant Superintendent Martinez, do you want to take us through this?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So this is a grant that was awarded by DESE for us to continue doing the work that we've been doing with our secondary schools in our virtual world. And so it's the Virtual Course Access Grant. And so what we plan to do with this money is educators and paraprofessionals and family liaisons will provide tutoring to our ELL and special education students with this money. We will also be hiring retiree callbacks to support the engagement and the work that we've been doing with our partners across the city, so that we have a liaison that goes between the partners and us at the school district. We're also going to add 1,000 licenses with a company called Paper. And what they do is they provide online tutoring 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to our students. It's something that we have already piloted at other schools and we've been successful with it. So this will allow more students to receive tutoring at their convenience and at the family's convenience. We're also going to add additional Edgenuity licenses so that our students are not just being remediated, but they have the opportunity to also be accelerated, meaning that they can take other courses if they choose to. So this will give us additional licenses to be able to do that work. And it also allows us to expand the purchase of Nearpod licenses. That is another platform that has been used across the district by a variety of our schools. And so this will allow more schools to use that online platform.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Assistant
Lydia.
Superintendent Martinez. Any questions or comments? Ms. Gresham?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Do you know how many retiree callbacks you're gonna call back? How many
Yeah.
people?
Yeah, we're looking to hire 3 of them, 2 to work with Dr. Johnson with Edgenuity so that we have folks there to answer the questions of our students, and then 1 to work with our remote partners, so 3 total.
3 total. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. Any other questions or comments?
It's been through budget and finance, so I didn't know.
It got unanimous support from Budget and Finance.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion on the floor to accept? So moved. Motion by Vice Chair Collins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Attorney Murphy. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Naylor,
Yes.
Attorney Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Hurst,
Yes.
Ms. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mayor Sarno.
That's one insufficient vote. This matter passes. Thank you. C is the adoption. To approve the adoption of Springfield Public Schools COVID-19 emergency paid sick leave policy. Superintendent Warren, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Attorney Shea and Attorney Kennedy are here, and they worked on the policy, and I'd like to give you the opportunity to review it with you.
Attorney Shea, Attorney Kennedy, please.
I'll start out. So good evening, everyone. This is a policy for COVID-19 emergency paid sick leave. It is to provide up to 80 hours of emergency paid sick leave for people who are ill with COVID-19 or who are required to quarantine due to close contact with COVID-19. This, as you can see, is the effective date of January 1, 2021 through March 31st of this year. Previously, last year, Springfield Public School employees were under the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act emergency paid family leave, and they had that 80 hours of leave then. That ended on December 31st, 2020. This is covering people now because the pandemic has continued. The relief, the statute ended, but so it provides that 80 hours of leave. As you can see in the policy, there's the potential that there may be, it indicates that there's potential that there may be some federal statutes that are enacted that are going to provide a requirement for emergency paid sick leave. And if that happens, then this policy would be, we would look to change this policy and then just go under that federal law. But right now, that still is just has not even in Congress yet. And so this will provide necessary leave for employees if they're ill with COVID-19, and it ensures that they have the paid sick leave to do that.
Thank you, Attorney Kennedy.
And this is also very similar to what the city side is doing as well.
Any other comments from Attorney Shea? Or that suffice? Any questions or comments from the school committee members? Move we approve. Motion by Vice Chair Collins. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Can I ask a,
Yes, go ahead.
so what happens after March 31st?
After March 31st, if there is no federal law that's in effect that would provide the paid sick leave, we would be coming back to you, to the school committee, to see whether there's a need to extend it.
Good question, Ms. Hurst. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, there was a motion on the floor by Vice Chair Collins. Was there a second, please?
Second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Perez. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Naylor,
Yes.
Attorney Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Hurst,
Yes.
Ms. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mayor Sarno.
Yes, one insufficient vote, this matter passes. Thank you. B is to approve an appropriation from carryover fund in the amount of $3 million to fund facility improvements. Superintendent Ward, please, and Mr. Rowe.
Thank you, Mayor. This is similar to a proposal we've been bringing forward to you for several years. We do a lot of summer projects to upgrade the schools, and we wanted the money appropriated, and then we bring forth a list of projects. Pat, do you want to expand on that?
Yes, this money will go towards doing summer projects. We like to shut down about 10 schools each summer and do a pretty heavy aesthetic renovation. So floor tiles, ceiling tiles, painting, things of that nature. So it's work above the operating budget, but smaller than capital projects and bonding. And they're really good projects for our schools.
Pat Sullivan and team, they just doing a fantastic job.
Absolutely incredible.
Yes, they do.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Perez, yes.
Yes, how are the schools chosen when it comes to this renovations?
So we usually sit down and we're on a cycle where every school gets it at least once every 10 years. So we'll take a look at where schools are in the cycle and what level of work orders we have or deferred maintenance. And that's usually how we select the 10. Many times if we already have some capital projects, like MSBA projects like roofs, windows, or doors, and those schools are already going to be shut down, we'll choose those schools. If not, we just look at whichever schools are in the worst condition and need the biggest upgrade as far as the painting and floor tiles and things go.
Thank you, Pat. Mr. Rowe, any other questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Perez.
It went through budget and finance. And usually we try to make sure we don't have a lot of money carry over. This year we tried to put a lot in because of financial conditions. So this will still leave us quite a bit in carryover that we'll be using later on for this year, coming year's budget.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion on the floor? So motion by Vice Chair Collins, a second, please.
Second.
Second by Ms. Naylor. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Naylor,
Yes.
Attorney Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Hurst,
Yes.
Ms. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mayor Sarno.
Yes, ordinance of remote this matter passed. Thank you very much. E is to approve the FY21 supplemental budget. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Yeah, we sent you a circular on this, and Pat, I'd like it, if you don't want to, the school committee.
Please.
Sure. So the budget we had recommended to the school committee for FY21 was based on the governor's budget, but the state didn't finalize their budget until December, believe it or not. So when the state finalized their budget, it was actually $17 million lower than what the school committee had voted. So this vote is actually to reduce the school budget by 17 million. However, we planned for this, so there are no cuts happening as far as us reducing the 17 million. We did not implement the Student Opportunity Act because the state didn't fund the Student Opportunity Act. So we had asked our schools to hold off implementing that. And then we ended up with different surpluses based on being in COVID. So our substitute teacher costs were down, our lunch coverage costs were down, our utilities were down. And so we're just sweeping all, taking the money out of those accounts where they're not needed, but we're not implementing any cuts.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Any questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yesterday, I think it was that the governor approved the Student Opportunity Act.
For 1 year. It's in his budget.
Yes, Ms. Gresham. So
how does?
That's what he did last year as well, and that's what we based the budget on. However, when it made it through the rest of the legislature, the House and the Senate ended up not funding it. So we did not end up getting the money. So the good news is the governor is recommending it again. We just have to hope that it makes it all the way through the legislature and then we'll be able to fund it.
Okay, thank you.
And again, that was for, I know it's a 7-year period, but this year.
Right.
That was
It's a
year
1
one
year vote,
that
right?
we didn't get last year, but they're promising to give it to us next year.
Ms.
All right,
Hurst?
thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst.
So, so will we this time around do somewhat of a concurrent budget? Because, so when he suggested it or proposed it last year, it was prior to COVID hitting when he suggested it in January, right? And then COVID hit and then it never passed the legislature. So what, and I know you don't have a magic ball, Patrick, but what is the potential how realistic is it, right? It's going to get funded this time around, especially if we know that they're predicting bleak budgets on the state side. They had to borrow from the rainy day fund. Like, do we on our end begin to build a budget that does not include the Student Opportunity Act just in case, because we're also not going to have the COVID funds that came in this year?
So what we did last year that worked out really well was we took the whole we took the Student Opportunity Act and we gave the money out to the schools. And we asked each school to build their own plan. So what ended up happening was that, and the schools already have these plans done. We just didn't let them hire the staff until the budget was passed. And since it never passed, they never really got to implement those plans. So I would suggest we follow the same exact path this year. Although the superintendent is pressuring me to find the money wherever possible. So I'm working on that as well. So even if the state doesn't pass it, we're going to do the best we can to try to fund that for our schools.
Okay, thank you. So I guess and I can't remember if we sent a letter last time, Vice Chair Collins, asking for the funding of the SOA. So this time around, does it make sense that we also send it not only to the governor, but to the legislature, seeing as though they didn't fund it?
I would agree 100%. The governor has put it in his budget that I would agree with you, we should resend a letter to the senators and the representatives, encouraging them to not delete that from their budgets, to follow the governor's lead. I agree 100% we should. So we'll get one drafted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst. Thank you, Vice Chair Collins. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion on the floor? Sure. So moved. Motion by Vice Chair Collins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hurst. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Naylor,
Yes.
Attorney Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Hurst,
Yes.
Ms. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mayor Sarno.
Yes, four sufficient votes, matter passes. Thank you, Mr. Roach, for all your work on it, Vice Chair Collins and staff. F is to approve the amendment to the MOU between the school committee and the Springfield Education Association regarding remote learning expectations. Superintendent Orr, please.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Maria, do you want to speak on it?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the committee met and we vote to recommend to the full school committee that it approved the amendment to the MOU on the remote learning.
Thank you, Mr. I'm sorry, Maria, I didn't see it at the time. Thank you, Mr. Perez. Superintendent Ward?
Yeah, I went through Maria's committee and they recommended it unanimously. This is an attempt to tweak our plan to get more synchronous time, more direct instruction built into the plan for kids, and our staff worked on a plan. And we sat down with the union, they agreed it was the best thing for the kids, and we came up with a agreement on it. We wanted school committee to approve that agreement.
Thank you, Superintendent Ward. Any other questions or comments from school committee members? Hearing none.
I have a question.
Ms. Naylor?
Can you elaborate just a little bit as to how we're going to ensure that the kids are going to be, I guess, safe is the best way to say it. I know that being online and looking at screens all day is not healthy. So to give them more time on the screens, can you explain the benefits of it? And then also how we're going to be careful to not cause more problems with headaches and other things that kids are experiencing being on the computers all day.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent Ward.
Yeah, so it was developed by staff with principals, teachers, and everyone else involved in it, and the CSOs. I think Shannon did a great deal of the work with the team on it, so she might be able to describe it better than I. Shannon Collins, will you answer that question?
Sure. We tried to fold in the feedback collected as a part of the town hall into this, listening to both parent concerns around screen time. So we've been able, based on that concern, to maintain that midday break. So all students will have an hour and 45 minutes midday, where they'll have the ability to have lunch and movement and a screen time break. During that time, our teachers are also going to have a screen break. They're going to have the ability to have their lunch and their prep, and then they'll have the 35 minutes of collaboration time that they have had during the remote learning so far. That's going to be maintained. Within the instructional blocks that we have increased the synchronous time, the teachers will be instructing the various content areas, and there'll be an increase in the instructional minutes per content area. But teachers, just like they did when we were open live, are going to be planning lessons aligned with the standards and the required instructional minutes that will include a combination of some whole group instruction in which all the students might be visible on the tiles and on their screen to the teacher. And then there'll be opportunities within those instructional breaks, instructional blocks for small group work, where some students may remain on the screen with the teacher or with a second educator. And some may be assigned an independent activity where their Zoom may remain on, where they're allowed to mute themselves and turn off their screen and work on an independent task, and unmute and turn their camera on if they need their teacher's help. There'll also be times where the teacher may work with a student one-on-one. And then teachers, again, are going to use their discretion, just like we would do when we're open live. And if they start to see their children, especially our littlest people, get antsy, they can take a movement break. Kids can continue to use those reactions and let their teachers know if they, before the class is ready to break, if they need to take a trip to the restroom or if they need to step away for a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Collins.
Thank you. May I ask a clarifying question? So the hour and 45 minutes, I know that elementary kids and the middle school kids got that. Are the high school kids now getting that? Is that an addition?
So that was built in for elementary. I don't know if you want to speak to that, Kim?
Sure. Some of the hour and it's more like hour and 10 minutes at the middle schools. Some of the schools have that, Ms. Naylor. Other schools do not. They have the 30-minute lunch in the middle of the day, and then they have that extra 45 minutes for additional movement and or asynchronous time spread throughout the day. And it's a little bit different at the secondary level because there's more time on learning requirements at the secondary level. So we weren't able necessarily to have that full hour and 45 across the board. So at the secondary level, as Shannon had stated, what we'll be looking to do is move towards more synchronous time, but there will be opportunities built in where the students with the teacher will be doing some more small group work and doing projects or research-based projects that kids will be working on, and the teachers will be available for the kids if they need additional help. So it won't necessarily be straight synchronous from the time that the school starts until the day ends, but more opportunities for kids to work collaboratively in their groups and then come back together. And there will still be some of those drop-in periods, but since the school started remotely in the fall, not all of the secondary schools have that hour and 45 minutes collectively anyways. They've done what's worked based on the time on learning requirements that they've had and based on their schedules, because some of the high schools do block scheduling and some of them do 50-minute schedules. So we've had to adjust it to meet the requirements.
Thank you.
Well, any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, is your motion on the floor, Seth?
So moved.
Motion by Vice Chair Collins, a second, please.
Second.
Second by Attorney Murphy. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Naylor,
Yes.
Attorney Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Hurst,
Yes.
Ms. Gresham,
Barbara, you're muted.
You're muted.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mayor Sarno.
Yes, four individual votes, matter passes. Thank you very much. G is to approve the school reopening plan presented at the school committee working session on January 14th, 2021. Superintendent Ward, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I've asked Paul to project the plan up on the screen so we can take a look at it again. We made some tweaks based on the dates we talked about during the last session. We wanted to show that to you, answer any other questions, and decide how to proceed with that. So Paul, if you can project that. So
thank you, Mr. Foster. Stats.
oh, that's a type I can handle. So we can just roll through, Paul, to the page with the dates of our return, that kind of thing. Yeah, so, you know, so some of the things we put it in after the discussion were phase one, again, tentative for those 3 special groups of March 15th, if the public health situation and ventilation enhancements permit. So our intent would be to bring it back to school committee before that date, to get a recommendation, do we still proceed at that time? And then phase 2, we talked about Monday, April 12th. The fourth quarter was gonna start on Friday, April 9th. We pushed it back to a Monday because of course it's better to start on a Monday. So we made those changes based on the last discussion. Didn't know if there was any other questions on the plan or folks were comfortable enough with a vote to proceed. Any of the dates on here, again, are subject to another school committee approval based on the health situation, the ventilation at the time.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I may. So where are we with the ventilation?
Ventilation, we're moving along, and Pat estimates that the ventilation work will all be completed in early March.
We're ahead of schedule.
Yeah, so we've been working on that. I got another update from him this week, but the same as last week or 2 weeks ago when we reported that he estimates that we're going to have that done, no problem. But again, we'll bring that back to you before any proposed opening, and if there's any snafus, we'll be able to adjust to that. But he doesn't anticipate that.
All right.
I ask, oh, sorry.
You've done a great job. Go ahead.
Yeah, they've done an incredible job.
So I have another question. Have we met or have we talked with the bus company? Do they know what to expect?
Yeah, Pat Roach is going to be working with the bus company when we get an idea of what the school committee is looking for here. Yes, we'll work with the bus company. Pat has been working with them.
All right. Also, and it was captured in the minutes last meeting that Mr. Roach would get us the number of custodians in the classroom. I mean, in the schools. Will he be able to get that for us? That information?
Absolutely. I'll send it first thing tomorrow morning.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Gretchen. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor.
I give, was that Latonia?
No, I think it was Mrs. Hurd.
Denise.
Oh, Ms. Hurd, I just wanted to point out too, on the April 12th start, and school committee members brought that up, it was good. We wanted to give continuity to parents and family members because we didn't, people said, I start a little bit early. We gave a certain date, it was either the 8th or
It was
the
the 9th, yeah.
And we didn't want to go backwards because if people are planning, families are planning, they might have planned for that. So we went, say a couple days past.
Yeah, and on a Monday, which I think makes more sense.
Ms. Hurst, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So March 15th, are we going to do, or when are we going to do the survey to reach out to families around whether they?
Yeah, great question. So for March 15th will be the first survey. So we would start that survey next week.
Okay, so it'll happen before the March 15th for those particular individuals.
Yeah, so for those particular groups, we'll get a handle on exactly what we're going to deal with ahead of time. We plan on working at it for at least 2 weeks before we start any other surveys. Because that'll tell us what we have to program for on the buses and everything else at school.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Ms. Hurst, if you're done.
And we're not doing any, are we doing any testing for staff?
So I've sent Jeannie Clancy and we've filed our applications to be involved with both testing programs, the pool testing and the Binax testing. But let me have Jeannie speak to that because she can answer it better than I. Jeannie, can you follow through on that for me?
Nurse Clancy?
Okay, so as of now, for the Binax Now testing, which is the rapid antigen test, I've been approved for my Cleaver certificate of waiver. I completed training this afternoon, so now I am ready to train staff. I have to wait for approval for the supplies to arrive. Next week, I will be submitting the poll testing application. There was a lot more information required in that, and I haven't completed the training yet. So Friday afternoon is the second part of the poll testing. We had the initial training, and that application will be submitted so that we can do the poll testing, which if you get a group of 10 is what the batches will be in Springfield, hopefully. If that batch comes back positive is why I have to have the by next now testing to find out right away who is positive.
Thank you.
Ms. Clancy. Ms. Hurst?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Naylor, I know you had a question?
Yes, I just had a follow-up about the surveys. I know that we're going to do surveys for the families, and I know that we also talked about some inquiries for staff. When will we have a better idea as to how many staff are requesting to remain in remote learning?
So we would have exactly who's requested it as of now. And Melissa, if you could give us those correct numbers, please.
I'm sorry, what were the numbers again?
The numbers of staff who've requested a leave and provided medical documentation. Where are we at with that?
Oh, sure. So there are probably approximately 200 staff who have requested it. Half of those folks have provided the medical documentation.
Thank you, Attorney Chase. Ms. Naylor?
Will we be able to know what staff position that they hold, if they're educators or administrators, XYZ?
We know HR has all that information. Yes. We know exactly by school, by position.
Thank you.
And we're keeping the principals abreast of that so they know how to make plans around it.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I have one.
Yes, Ms. Gresham.
So if we have a child that arrive at school on the bus and they develop symptoms, we can't send them home on a bus. The parent has no transportation. How would we get them home?
Yeah, Jeannie, you want to answer that? Jeannie Clancy?
I could take it if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah, Pat, feel free to answer it for me because we have a plan.
I'm sorry, Jeannie?
I said you can answer it because you're aware of the plan because it involves finance.
Yes, I mean, we're gonna have a van available to take kids home as long as their parents are home, and they'll be in the medical waiting that Jeannie can go into details on.
Yeah. Thank you, Pat. Nurse Clancy, yes, I remember we spoke about a holding medical area. Nurse Clancy, can you clarify that if they have to be held?
So any student that is symptomatic will have to go into the medical waiting room. That's a room separate from the nursing office. Everyone in that room has to be at least 6 feet apart. Person monitoring room would have appropriate PPE. The student going into that room will have an extra mask put on and a face shield put over them. The goal is to get them out of the room as soon as possible, to get them home to get tested. The hope is by next testing is here and available, and I will have an answer within 15 minutes if they're COVID positive.
Okay.
So with positive, they don't even have to go get a PCR if I have the BNX now testing.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ask a follow-up. Jeannie, how do you said if you have it? So what is the holdup? Is it that we don't know if it's in stock, or are we waiting to find out if it's approved, or?
Okay, so I've emailed them twice because the application's been approved. My clear waiver, I have my number. We have to pay the bill, but they haven't mailed it to me yet. Basically, getting supplies, you're supposed to have students in person. I've explained to them that there's no way I can get all my nurses trained if we're back in session. Besides, we're having nurses work vaccine clinics. I want to do training now. It makes sense. So DPH has allowed me to be trained, and I talked to them today. They believe that I'll get my kits. I think they're just busy like everything else because everybody in session is trying to get the testing up and running too. So, but I don't, until I have my kits, I tend to be concerned. But I have no reason to believe they're not coming.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Perez.
I was muted. Going back to the staff, what will be the impact for the students if we have 200 people, 200 staff that have requested to, I'm looking for the proper word. Anyway, what would be the impact to the students with this 200 staff?
So right now, we only have 100 of those staff that actually have provided the medical documentation. So until they provide the medical documentation, they wouldn't be allowed to work remote. So what we'd have to do at every school is having those staff support the work remotely, because a lot of our kids are going to be remote, and even the kids that are coming back, hybrid, they're going to be remote part of the time. So that staff would help us working remotely. And as long as it's in that 100 to 200 range, it should be something that the principals are able to work around. If it goes up much higher than that, then we'd have to really take a close look at things. But right now, the numbers look like they're manageable at each school.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion on the floor? So moved. Motion by Vice Chair Collins, is there a second, please? Say again, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Perez. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Naylor,
Yes.
Attorney Murphy,
Peter, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Ms. Hurst,
Yes.
Ms. Gresham,
I'm a little in between because everything is not, there's still some unanswered questions. So I don't think I can vote yes on this tonight. I'm going to vote no.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mayor Sarno,
Yes, for the switch of vote, this matter passed. We'll now move to informational items. This is a notification of school committee of Assistant Superintendent salary, Superintendent Warwick.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I've completed assistant superintendent's evaluation. We get granted her a 4% increment, raising her salary to $188,862.
Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion? Oh, okay, that's
yeah, just informational.
Informational. Okay. Now we'll move on to B, which is the new ELA curriculum, grades 3 to 5.
Yeah, Stefania and Laura headed a team of folks who went through to look at a new ELA curriculum, and they presented it to the subcommittee, Denise's subcommittee, curriculum and program subcommittee. I don't know if Denise, if you wanted to speak to it at all, or
Ms. Hurst?
Sure. So they did a great job. It was extremely thorough, very comprehensive and detailed. I know that there were some specific details that they talked about that they were pleased with. So I don't know if we want to turn it over to Ms. Menz, but it did come out of subcommittee unanimously.
thank you, Denise. I think if Steph and Laura can give us an overview.
Absolutely.
Denise was talking about, just to fill in the entire school committee about it in public.
Mr. Shaw, Ms. Mendez?
Sure, thank you. So Laura and Suzanne are going to speak a little bit more in detail about the curriculum that we selected, which is called My View. But the team went through an extensive process with many elementary schools, which contained administrators, educators, and parents. And they reviewed 3 different curriculums and ended up selecting one that we feel will be the best fit for the students of Springfield.
Good evening, Patty. Am I able to share screen? I think I am.
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Superintendent Warwick, and esteemed school committee members in our viewing audience. I'm Laura Menz. I'm the Director of Literacy. As Stefania Rochilla said, I'm here with my colleague, Suzanne Marks, and we are really pleased to be able to share with you, to have this opportunity tonight to share with you our process that we underwent and to give you a little glimpse into the actual curriculum that was chosen. Our process actually started last school year before COVID. We were examining grades 3 to 5 ELA curriculums that would meet our needs. And we were looking at reports from Curate and Ed Reports, as well as determining some of our priority needs. And many of those came out of conversations with you, school committee members, including talking about having a curriculum that really supports promoting equity, diversity, and inclusion, and SEL supports. And then come COVID time, really making sure that we have a digital platform that can help us pivot between remote and in-person learning as we move forward in these times. As Stefania said, we ended up really digging deep into 3 final products and assembling a selection committee that was comprised of various stakeholders. And I'm really proud of this work in this committee, comprised of special education supervisors, ELL supervisors, principals, educators teaching in grades 3, 4, and 5, and our ILSs. It was a pretty dynamic team that spent a lot of hours, and some of which are parents in our school district as well. So I think that's another view that's really important for us to have. As I introduce my colleague, Suzanne Marks, I just really owe her a real debt of gratitude. She was really able to help us make sense of the Curate reports and the Curate system. So I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne to talk a little bit more about that with you.
Thanks, Laura. The first thing I'm going to tell you about is the name that we came up with for our team, Springfield Public Schools Elementary 3 to 5 Language Arts Evidence-Based Curriculum Team, which really captured the work that we were doing based on the Curate work from DESE, where Curate stands for Curriculum Ratings by Teachers. We wanted to come up with something that captured the work that we were doing in Springfield. So as Laura mentioned before, we looked at Ed Reports for several different curriculum and Curate indicators and ratings, and selected only highly rated curriculum to evaluate for Springfield to choose a curriculum that we could then recommend to the curriculum team and come up with a consensus on a decision for the curriculum. We had approximately 40 people that were making ratings across about 22 different indicators. There was a standards alignment domain with 2 key criteria, which include text quality and organization. I think it's important that we note that we were looking at one indicator about materials, including texts that represent various cultures and perspectives, so that each of our students sees themselves represented in the texts in the curriculum. And then within the standards alignment domain, we also have the classroom tasks and instruction criteria. And one of the indicators that we wanted to point out there was materials that included social emotional learning support. So we did evaluate that. Within the classroom application domain, the other sort of main area under that umbrella were accessibility for students and usability for teachers. And we wanted to point out that we also looked at materials representing and valuing diverse backgrounds and perspectives, so that when the materials are in front of the students, conversations and instruction can take place around implementing those diverse and culturally responsive texts. Usability for teachers, we looked at materials being available digitally and that we could use them within Springfield's infrastructure and making sure that they were available digitally. The programs aren't all digital, but we are going to be able to access them. This slide has a lot of information on it, but it really just captures what the scoring was across 22 different indicators. That if you think about 40 educators looking at 3 different curriculum, evaluating them through digital and print and publisher question and answer sessions, and then coming up with a scoring of doesn't meets or exceeds expectations, to come up with a total composite rating of 2.89 out of a possible 3. We felt very strongly about coming to a consensus on making my view as the curriculum that we selected to recommend. So
just to give you a quick glimpse of what this program has included in it, When we think about all of the domains and criteria and indicators that Suzanne talked to you about, we're really thinking about all of the modes of ELA instruction: English language arts, reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and making sure that what we look at is based on the evidence of research and what they call the science of reading. So here's a glimpse of what one particular unit would look like in the series. It's a unit on diversity. And each unit would start with an essential question that would be looked at over a course of 6 weeks. And each week has their own questions that help students answer that one main essential question. The one here is, how can we reach new understandings through exploring diversity? And these units are put in together in inquiry projects. So by the end of 6 weeks, students are working on a project-based inquiry project that answers the questions and the overall essential question. Really important to note that writing is so critical in grades 3 to 5. There's a lot of reciprocity between reading and writing, making sure students are writing to understand and writing to show what they know. We know that students write in response to their reading, and we know that students write as a craft to be creative. This curriculum does both. This example just highlights that students in grade 4 could create a travel article or a travel brochure, and we've highlighted that it could be so unique and customized to us here in Western Mass. So it really provides lots of opportunities for students to have diverse perspectives represented. This often gets asked of us: is our program going to help students learn to be better spellers and use conventions? Yes, that is a part of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And further information that this program does support all learners, our ELL population, students with disabilities, students with varying performance levels at different times during the course of a school year. We all need extra supports. We all need scaffolds. And sometimes some of us don't need any help at all. So this program is going to meet the needs of all of those learners. And here's just an example of the fact that we have some really strong ELL supports in this program, and that our ELL department was very impressed with those. Another win for us is the fact that there are built-in assessments that can be accessed digitally that will help us measure student progress and performance at different times during the school year, and that we'll be able to access them on the digital platform and make data-driven decisions. So what's next for us? Well, right now we're in the midst of working with Savvis Learning on an implementation and professional learning plan. They've really proven to be a pretty good partner vendor right now in this process, working to customize and be flexible to the needs of our educators here in Springfield. So that's really what's next for us on the horizon. We're really excited about this. It's a perfect time for us to think about new. So really, thank you. We enjoyed presenting to the subcommittee and talking to them, and we want to thank you for listening to us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, great job.
Any questions or comments?
May I just say for the record, I made the mistake and said that it came out of subcommittee unanimously. We didn't vote. It was just an informational item.
That's right. That's right.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I did ask a question during subcommittee, Laura. I asked about the language and the interpretation of it, and you said that you would get back to us. Can you let me know if you're able to get a response on that?
So I was told that their product works very well with Google Translate, and that we're able to translate much of the program through the Google Translator, which is pretty uniform to what many curriculum companies have out there right now. Not the answer I wanted for sure. I mean, but I don't think we get a better answer from anybody else without what other ideas we're looking for.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to it should be the High School of Commerce. some discussion on the mascot. Superintendent Ward, can you clarify that?
Yeah, this came through Denise's subcommittee. So I'd like Denise to present.
Sure. I see Assistant Superintendent Lydia Martinez. Is anybody else from the initial subcommittee present outside of the school committee members? No? Okay. So this came up, as you all can imagine, because of some of the unrest that occurred this past summer. And I was able to have a conversation with the superintendent, and he had stated that our AD, our athletic director, Dwayne Early, had already been gathering some research and doing his due diligence. It had been brought to my attention as well about what were we going to do around the mascot and its negative connotation. There have been several school districts all across the Commonwealth who have changed their mascots that have been Native American and have had negative implications. We've also have seen that professional sports teams have also done that. And as more recently, I think it was the day that we had the curriculum and program subcommittee, the governor had just appointed a commission to review the actual symbol on the Massachusetts state flag. So Assistant Superintendent Martinez had done her due diligence in locating, I think it was Athol, who has the same exact mascot, and consulting with them around what their process was. There's actually a coalition who helps schools determine how to go about doing this and doing it the right way. On that call was Colleen, Matt Brunel, and Principal Neil, all of Commerce. And they shared, and I'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Martinez, but they had shared that they were actually surprised that we still had the mascot, that they had seen many districts all across the Commonwealth by way of the MIAA already change. And they have a group of students who had sort of come together to try and think of a new mascot. So we told them not necessarily to hold on that work, but to allow the assistant superintendent to continue to do her due diligence in figuring out what's the best way to go about it. And so I apologize because I know that Vice Chair Collins called me and I completely forgot to call back, because I think what we wanted to do was to make sure that the full committee got to hear what was happening. And then it would go back to subcommittee, and then there would be a recommendation, and that's when a potential vote would be brought back before the full committee. Is that correct, Chris, right? I got that right from Patty? Okay. So I'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Martinez, and she can explain the work that she and AD Early have done, and then we can open it up to questions.
Thank you, Mrs. Hurst. So what AD Early and I have been doing is just really looking across Massachusetts to see what process had been used to achieve this goal. And so we do have meetings coming up with the Massachusetts Mascot Coalition, which school committee woman, Ms. Hurst, will be there with us also. And so we also went to a workshop that actually Ms. Hurst recommended. It was Issues of the Moment series, Navigating a Mascot Change. And there were approximately about 20 folks on there, 4 different districts that are also going through the process. So we were kind of learning from each other, and I'm waiting for them to send me the actual process that they use to achieve this. And so I should be getting that soon. And then at the meeting, we'll all meet to kind of figure out what process Springfield wants to follow, and then turn it over to Ms. Hurst for her to do her school committee diligence. And so that's where we are right now, is collecting the data. But we do have a meeting coming up with myself, the folks from Commerce, AD Early, and school committee woman, Ms. Hurst. And again, we're working on the process.
Assistant Superintendent Martinez. Any questions or comments? I'd just like to say, as a proud graduate of the High School of Commerce and proud Red Raider, class of '81, this is real. I haven't heard anything. Nobody said a word. I participate in a lot of Native American events, and we always looked upon it as brave, this depicted about brave, being driven, and being determined to succeed. It was a process. I don't want to see us get sidetracked with sideshow type activities. More important things to worry about now: defeating COVID-19, getting our kids back into school. And I haven't heard one thing on this. I recently saw what Mayor London Reed had to say in San Francisco, where they changed all the names of Washington and Lincoln. So I mean, was there a groundswell on this, or how did this come about?
I'm happy. I'm happy.
There was a lot of proud alumni of the High School of Commerce, and I but never depicted anything as far as any negativity to Native Americans. We always looked upon it as being brave, determined, and driven to succeed on it. So I'm just trying to see where this. Yeah, I just don't want to see us get distracted with a lot of, a lot of important things we have on our agenda to get done. It becomes with all due respect, becomes a sideshow. So I feel very strongly about my alma mater, as many do. So I'll be very interested in this process of where it goes or doesn't go. But I'm just saying, as mayor, I'll hear about a lot of things. Believe me, I get calls, letters, emails, a lot of things. Nobody has said a word. I've been involved in Native American activities, many events. Jumped a running gear, Gloria Keeler. Never have I heard anybody bring anything up pertaining to the proud High School of Commerce, the pride of the Red Raiders. We looked upon it as a symbol of determination, being driven, brave, and proud to succeed. So I'm just wondering where this came out of, or curious.
I'm happy to answer at least what was my experience and how it was brought to my attention. It actually was brought to my attention prior to this summer, and I think it was right around the time where there was a lot of talk about the Wampanoag tribes in the Cape, and there was a lot of talk about making sure that Indigenous people were feeling as though their images were not being used in a negative way. And so there had been a slew of schools out in the eastern part of the state that had shed the mascot, which is a national movement. And then more recently, we've had some schools in this area, Athol, like Assistant Superintendent Martinez stated, up in the Mohawk Trail Greenfield area. And then this past summer, it was brought up when a lot of folks in the community were having conversations about being anti-racist and what were some of the things that could be done to be proactive. So I had a conversation with the superintendent. He had said, and I don't want to speak for you, superintendent, so please jump in. He had said, Denise, I could see that coming down the pike, and I can see that, we're going to have folks that, feel one particular way and folks that feel another way. We were also in the midst of trying to figure out how to come back to school. So it got, it kind of went onto the back burner. I then got a call probably about a month and a half or so ago, and it coincided when I was asked to hold the curriculum and programs meeting for this ELA curriculum that we just talked about. And it probably came on the heels of the work that was being done on the statewide level around the flag. And because you have national teams that have gotten rid of the mascot. The Washington, what used to be referred to as the Redskins, are no longer. The Atlanta Braves are no longer. The Cleveland Indians are no longer. So I understand that some folks might feel the way that you do, Mayor. I also understand that some people perceive the image to be one way and others perceive it to be another. And I think that what's most important is that we figure out what we can, what is the best way to move forward with this process and ensure that, we're being culturally responsive. And unfortunately, my hope is that as a mother, my mother who also graduated from the High School of Commerce, that changing the mascot shouldn't take away from being a proud alum.
Well, I just, another point on that, is there up to local, or is this an outside group that brought this to the attention of the city, or is anyone?
No, the inquiries that I got were local.
And you spoke about the Atlanta Braves. The name is still the same. The mascot was looked at and changed there. And also very locally here with Mayor Billy Sapelli in Agawam, the Brownies, where that came up there, and they were able to justify how they felt and how it was determined about the name of the Brownies, and that was kept. I'm just saying, whether there's a survey or process, I just don't want to get sidetracked here. And again, we never took it upon that way about being any type of disrespect to Native Americans. We always felt that's why we were schooled by Principal Phil Sweeney, God rest his soul, and Judy Basili, about pride, determination, greatness, driven to succeed. So I just, with the process, but I have to say, my head, heart, and gut, there's a lot of proud alumni out there. There's a lot of proud commerce individuals that we wear that with pride. It was never thought about any type of disrespect to Native Americans. So, and I just see what happened in San Francisco now, where the mayor, I don't remember who came out, just against it. 43 schools, President Lincoln, President Washington, to be renamed. And I agree, more important things to worry about. And where does I haven't heard anything about this whatsoever.
So I think it's a matter of opinion, because I understand the argument that, some folks might feel like it's a distraction, or that there are other things that we have to worry about. But I also think, there's a reason that we're going to have a process. There's a reason why it'll come before the full body. There's a reason why we'll get community input. But I also think, more importantly, if we see that it's happening because we're hearing that even though there might be some good intentions, it still is offensive. I think we have to be proactive. And I think, we have been trendsetters in a lot of ways. And so if this is something that we're hearing, that people are feeling like we need to really look at this, that it's a matter of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and our governor is at least allowing for people to take a look at it, that other districts are doing their due diligence and taking a look at it, I think it absolutely is and should be a priority.
Has the High School of Commerce had the mascot? I don't recall the mascot. Are you talking about changing I don't recall any type of mascot in the athletic or student activity thing. Are you looking to change the name completely from going to the High School of Commerce?
So there's been no decisions that have been made. Assistant Superintendent Martinez and the athletic director, Dwayne Early, reached out to different districts to see what they had done. I have reached out, or at least I had put out an inquiry to see what other districts in the other side of the state had also done. Some folks have gotten rid of the mascot entirely. Some people have changed the actual names. There's been a combination of both. And interestingly enough, I mean, the people from the zone themselves said that they could not believe that we still had such a mascot on the books. This is something that is a big deal.
Well, people get emotional on this process, fine. I just do not want us to get distracted on important duties that we have to do in defeating COVID-19, getting our students back into school, and have a sideshow start to occur. So I'll be very interested in the process, but again, being a proud graduate of the High School of Commerce, class of '81, proud Red Raider, I haven't heard a word, period, on this. And there's a process, that's fine, but I just want to see how entailed is this going to be? And I just see what happened in San Francisco. And the mayor stood up to that too. It's formed a complete distraction of what they need to get done in San Francisco of this taking President Washington and President Lincoln off 43 schools, and their next targets are going to be the Roosevelts. So that's my feeling. Again, I'm very emotional when it comes to my alma mater, and I just think you got to be prepared that there's going to be two sides of this issue, and people will be emotional on both sides of this issue, and I just don't want to get distracted. I respect it coming up, but I have not heard anybody, me personally, anybody saying that they had an issue with the high school commerce. Again, I'm involved in a number of Native American activities and sport things, and got to run a deer Gloria Pure. I never heard them once say to me about making any type of change. But I'll honor the school committee as far as the process to look at it. I don't want to open up a Pandora's box where we get distracted on things that really we should be laser focused on. So to me, maybe to others, we never looked upon it as any type of disrespect. It was us that showed strength, being brave, being determined, being driven to succeed out of the high school of commerce, the proud Red Raider on it. So I just want to give my viewpoint. That's no disrespect to you, Ms. Hurst. I'm just saying it just sort of came out of the blue here, but we'll go from there. I'll shut up for now.
Mr. Mayor, just a moment. So at this point, Assistant Superintendent Martinez, you're still doing research to come up with a process? Is that where you're at?
Yes, sir.
And then when you come with a process, then we'll have another discussion once you have the process, right?
Yeah, my understanding is my job is to help with the process and then turn it over to school committee woman, Ms. Hurst.
Okay, just want to know which way we're going. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your efforts, Ms. Hurst and Assistant Superintendent Martinez. I just wanted to, it's near and dear to my heart, and just wanted to clarify what happens or doesn't happen.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Discretion, yes.
And once they do the process, it'll come back to the full committee, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
And maybe there should also, we do a lot of surveys, maybe there should also be a survey too, especially when it comes to the alumni of the High School of Commerce and residents to see how they feel on this situation. But again, I just don't want to get distracted. I know everybody has good intentions here. I do not want to get distracted.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I may, we got to think positive, right? Right?
That's right.
Okay, so we got to think positive. That's all I got.
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Perez.
Yeah, this been an issue that it's been happening since 1970. The Native Association requested what we're going through right now for purpose of education. It was not until 1999 that then a group of psychologists came and professionally requested all those changes. And there's a lot of study about it, how offensive was to them. And I understand where you are coming from, but right now, in the history of Puerto Rico, and I think that we have to look all that and accountable. We have gone through certain things because we do have what is called an African town in Puerto Rico, because from my descendants, I'm African. My mom's name is Falu, and it comes from Africa. There's been so many history, and I think what had happened is that society had not acknowledged all these concerns as races that we have in the past. But it's nothing new. It's that it's coming out. But this began back in 1970, and then the Native Association met, and they requested it formally since 1999. So for purpose of education, this has been an ongoing process. I'm trying to say it's not new. So that's where it came about. So my concern is the legality of it, because it's requested by the Native Association, and that's where I don't want to get into as a school committee member, and the legality part of it, you know. So I just wanted to express some points here.
Thank you, Mr. Again, I look forward to a respectful process to hear both sides of the story moving forward. And the last thing I'll say again, we never thought of any type of ill intent when it came to our Native Americans. Again, for Principal Sweeney, Phil Sweeney, God rest his soul, Principal Dean Vasily, who was always Commerce Pride, about being determined, driven, brave to succeed. And that's how we depicted it. So I thank you for indulging me on say a few words about my alma mater.
I'm just happy that our mascot was a tiger. We may be an endangered species, but
thank you. I'm sorry, any other questions or comments on this? And okay, hearing none, thank you. We'll now move to D, a portrait of a graduate strategic planning update. Superintendent Ward, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Paul Foster, who's been leading this process for us, working with Lydia and the team, is going to do a presentation on where we're at with the strategic planning process and our portrait of a graduate work. So I'll turn it over to Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah.
Thanks, Superintendent. And I'm just gonna, I don't actually have slides for you. I'm just gonna kind of give you a verbal update, and happy to take questions, but just wanted to have an opportunity to share a little bit about where we are with the portrait of a graduate and what are the next steps. And so I know, well, you all know, I think we gave an update in the fall. We've been working on this since about September of 2019. So this has been a long running process. We have talked to about, well, several thousand folks have been part of the process so far from across the community, including, you know, many of the folks on tonight, probably some of the folks who are watching. I want to thank Ms. Perez and Ms. Naylor, who've been part of our working team. So we've had a working team that's been meeting monthly again since I think October of 2019. So this is a group of folks who've been really with us and persevered with us through kind of continuing this work in the midst of the COVID pandemic. And so I'm pleased to report that we've actually been able to finalize. We have a final version of our portrait of a graduate. And just to refresh your memory, right, the portrait of a graduate is really, it's meant to be really a lofty vision of what we want for our students when they graduate. And we're still working on sort of the graphic design and the layout of the final document, but we'll have that to share with you soon. And also working with Azelle, we're going to be putting together, you know, a pretty broad messaging campaign to share the final portrait with the community. And when I say final, I just want to be clear, we need to view this as a living document. The portrait of a graduate, you know, we're expecting that this will change over time, right? The needs, what students need when they graduate will change over time. So when I say the final, it's the final for now, portrait of a graduate. And so we're in the midst now of pivoting to a strategic planning process. And one of the pieces we've got of feedback we've received in the community is that well, I'm sorry, not from the community. One of the pieces of feedback we've received broadly from other districts and other schools that have participated in the portrait of a grad process is that our process has been a little bit different. So apparently in others, we didn't realize this when we started, in other schools and districts that have done a portrait of a graduate, they've done it as part of their strategic plan. So they've written a strategic plan, and then as part of it, one of the action steps has been to write a portrait of a graduate. And we've gotten some positive feedback that by starting with the portrait, we can use that as the foundation. And so we can go into the next, to writing our next strategic plan with this kind of lofty vision of what we want for young people growing up in Springfield, and use that as the foundation. And so that's something I think we're pleased about as we go into the strategic planning process. And just like we did with the portrait of a graduate, we're going to go right back to the community. So in the months of February and March, we're going to start holding community conversations, just like we did prior to everything closing. We had something like 200 conversations with community stakeholders in the community. And in those portrait of a graduate conversations, the core questions, I should say, were what are your hopes and dreams for young people growing up in Springfield? And what are the knowledge and skills young people need to realize those hopes and dreams? And all of the feedback we got from folks is really what was put into the Portrait of a Graduate. And that's what you see in the Portrait of a Graduate document. So the next set of questions as we go into the strategic planning process are going to be, what are the kinds of learning experiences that young people need? And what are the kinds of learning experiences that young people need more of in order to realize the knowledge and skills that are embodied in the Portrait of a Graduate? And then we're going to also ask folks in the community, what do they think are the kinds of process, system, structural changes that we might have to make to cultivate those kind of learning experiences? And I'll give a simple example of the kind of conversations we're imagining. You know, we'll ask that question, what kind of learning experiences support young people to realize the knowledge and skills in the portrait? One of the, you know, I'll give an example of a potential answer. I could imagine somebody in our community saying, well, we think kids should have more field trips, right? I imagine all of you have heard that at various points. And, you know, that would be likely a wonderful thing, but it's also resource dependent, right? Being able to have more field trips. So we're going to, in all of those conversations, we want to facilitate them so that we're asking the next question. Because when somebody says, I think kids should have more field trips, we want to say, why? What is it about a field trip as a learning experience that's powerful for young people? And there's a lot of parts of that, right? Field trips are often hands-on, or kids are seeing something or experiencing something they never experienced before. And so that's going to be information we can take from the community, and then we can go back to our educators, to our teachers, and have conversations about how would we create more learning experiences that are hands-on, or that give kids a chance to see or experience something they haven't experienced before. So even if it's not another field trip, how do we bring the qualities of a field trip into the classroom? So that's really the process we're embarking on. As it relates to timeline, we want to have those community conversations in February and March. And then as we move into April and May, we're going to be working with teams of teachers to take all the data that came from the community and think about, really from a design perspective, what kind of changes would we make in schools? What kind of changes would we make in classrooms to create the kind of learning experiences that support students to realize the vision embodied in the portrait? And one last thing I'll say on that, you know, I mentioned we had gotten feedback from thousands of people. I just want to mention, we shared a draft Portrait of a Graduate with the community in October, that's October of 2020, and opened up a survey so folks could give us feedback on the draft. And there were sort of three things about the responses to that survey I want to highlight. One is we got 1,500 responses, which is amazing by itself. But the most amazing thing about that survey is half of those responses came from our students. So those were currently enrolled students in the Springfield Public Schools weighing in on the Portrait of a Graduate. And we were excited to see our students engaging with kind of the construction of this vision for where we're headed and where we want students, what we want students to be able to realize before they graduate. And the last thing I'll say about the survey is across those nearly 1,500 responses, I think there was there's sort of the bullet points within our Portrait of a Graduate that define the knowledge and skills that young people need to be successful. And across every bullet point, at least 93% of responses said they thought it was important for students upon graduation. So across every bullet point in that portrait, 93% of our community thought that was important, which I think reflects that the final document actually speaks to the kind of passion and interests of our community for our young people. So Superintendent, I can stop there, but I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Lydia, if you wanted to add anything, or if there are any questions.
I just like to add that this process is different than our other two iterations of our strategic plan, because we began with a Portrait of a Graduate and trying to take a look at what we want for our graduates and what skills and attributes, and the feedback and the excitement created by that process has been much more significant than we've had in our past strategic plan. So I think it's been a very exciting process, and the breadth of community involvement has been exciting. This has been an exciting process for people to be involved in. I know several of our members have been involved with the process. So just the excitement this time is significant, and I think it's due to the protocol we're following. The Bar Foundation is very interested. They gave us one grant already. They're talking about a potential another grant to help us with this process, because they're excited with the way it's been going. So the team that's been working on it, I think, has done a fabulous job, and the excitement, I think, in the community is noteworthy and something that I think will take us forward to a strong strategic plan. But congratulations to the team that's been working on it.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. Any questions or comments at all?
I would like to just make a comment, Mr. Mayor. I just want to really commend Paul, Lizelle, Lydia, all of them who are involved in really leading this work, along with the partnership that you all have with Greater Partnership, whatever their lengthy name is. I just think that it's important to have a lot of voices at the table and to really reflect perspectives from so many people, from the business community, school committee, educators. Like, all of these perspectives are at the table and have been for the last 2 years. So the work is really showing the authentic voice of the community and what we are looking for as a unit. So I just really commend each of the staff that are involved on the extensive work that they're putting into this process, and the reality that they really want to see the authenticity, and they're really owning the integrity of the process. So I want those who are watching, from the public, to know that this process wasn't something that we've done in a vacuum, but we really were intentional about including voices from so many different spaces. And I'm excited about the work, and I'm really excited about the conversations we have and the plans and the next steps that we have moving forward as a unit to make sure that we're doing what's best for our kids and our community.
Yeah, I wanted on this process, we really reached out to a lot of people from all different groups of the business community, because we want each and every one of our children, our students, young men and young women, to succeed. And we want to hear from the community, business community, what they are looking for, what needs to be put forth so they have the opportunity, the foundation, the pathway to succeed, whether it's in academia, whether it's in workforce, whether it's in the military, in whatever field it is, profession. So I think the engagement is fantastic because we want to match. And then I think a lot of times that lights the twinkle in a student's eye, saying, boy, besides learning, I know now what direction I want to go to. I know there's an opportunity for me because of whatever I've been able to learn from home, school's foundations there. I know I can go there now. So I think it's unique. I think it's creative, and I appreciate it. And I hope we can get to every one of our kids to say, boy, that's what I'm going to do. And then they can reach their goal. And there's an opportunity for them, and hopefully right here in the city of Springfield for the area.
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Chair Don?
If we could take everything that Mrs. Naylor said and change some of the words, I'd like to apply it to the group that did the ELA curriculum program, the group that worked on the reopening plan, the group that worked on putting together the new MOU to get all children focused. So all those nice things that you put into that speech, Latonia, if we can change the name and would say it, consider we've said it all over again to all of you who are out there working hard every day to bring these things to us. It means a lot to all of us. We're probably guilty of not saying it enough, but believe me, we appreciate all the work that all of you do.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Naylor. Thank you, Mr. Khan. Any other questions or comments? Staff, Mr. Foster?
Yeah, sorry, I just, two more quick. I neglected to finish when I was sharing the timeline with you, and I just wanted to say, so again, April, May, we're going to be doing that work to define kind of what would be the activities in the strategic plan. I wanted you all to know that our goal, and it's ambitious, I'll be honest, but our goal is to get a draft strategic plan done by June, and then go again, same as we did with Portrait, go right back out to the community, share the draft, and say, hey, did we hear you right? Right? Does this reflect what you feel like we need to do in our schools to help realize the portrait? The other thing, if I can take another minute or two, I said I don't have slides, but you guys know me, and I thought I don't have the fully graphically designed version of the portrait, but I can just pull up on the screen the text of the final portrait to just show you briefly what it looks like, if that would be.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Please, yeah.
Okay. So can you all see that?
Yes.
So just to say again, we're doing lots, and the other thing I want to just another shout out for Azelle. She's been working with partners in the community. We're actually going to come back to you also with a video that really speaks to the process. It'll be a sort of a mini documentary that talks about how we developed this portrait and talks about the content of the portrait. So that's going to be something exciting to look forward to. So obviously, I'm not going to read all this to you, but based on the feedback we heard from the community, there really are 6 domains that we were hearing our community talk about. Learn, work, and thrive are the first 3 domains in our portrait. And you can see those sentences at the top, right? Those are written in the first person. That's meant to be our student's voice, saying this is what I have at the time of graduation, or what I can do at the time of graduation. And then the second 3 are lead, persist, and communicate. Again, you can see those. I like the first person statements a lot, and I think we got good feedback on that from the community of just putting it in the voice of our students. And just to highlight one of them, I will lead with confidence, empathy, kindness in my family, my community, in Springfield and beyond. I feel like, Mr. Mayor, we might have cribbed a little bit of your graduation speech there, but we want our students to be leaders in kind of every area of their lives, and so that made its way into the portrait.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Paul.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we look forward to that Picasso or Da Vinci or and many other artists that walk 3 colors and backgrounds on. So thank you. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll go to reports of standing committees, student relation, parent concerns, Ms. Gresham.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. B is Buildings Maintenance Committee, Vice Chair Collins.
We've covered it during the meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Legislative and Contracts Committee, Ms. Perez.
Yeah, we covered it during the meeting, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Curriculum and Programs Committee, Ms. Hurst.
It was also covered during the meeting, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst. E is Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Collins.
Would be a skipping record. It was covered during the meeting.
Yeah, that's all right. And again, just for the viewing audience, a lot of the hard work, the nuts and bolts, is done by the subcommittees and their chairmen and chairwomen. Many times they'll work hours on those committees with the staff of Superintendent Warwick. So sometimes when you see we do a quick vote or no report, that's where all the legwork gets done, and it's very appreciative. Vocational Education Committee, Attorney Murphy.
No report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. G is Technology Committee, Ms. Naylor.
No report, but we are working on a meeting.
Thank you. H is School Safety Committee, Ms. Gresham.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I is Special Subcommittee Staff Demographics, Ms. Perez.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The committee has not met because of lack of a quorum, but we'll keep on trying. But in the meantime, the district has established a DIRE committee. The acronym for DIRE is Diversity, Inclusion, and Racial Equity. Ms. Hurst, Ms. Gresham, and Ms. Naylor, and we are all part of one of the 4 subcommittees. And as soon as we can meet, we will look at the purpose and the goal established by that committee to ensure that it aligns with the phase 3 work of this committee. So more to come, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Perez, I appreciate your efforts, and I appreciate our colleagues' efforts too to continue. We've made a lot of progress. Inroads, there's more to be done on the diversity. So thank you on that. Any questions or comments on Ms. Perez's report? Okay, hearing that, I don't know if Naz Jennings is on from Springfield Public Day High School, our student representative. He was very active when we first started. I know sometimes he works too. Naz, we look forward to hearing from you again, and I hope you're feeling well, you and your family. Report of the superintendent. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. One thing that came out this week, and Jeannie's been very active in it, our nurse leader, Jeannie Clancy, is the vaccination piece. And we had a meeting with the commissioner yesterday, and Jeannie's been doing a lot of work on that. So I wanted Jeannie to present where we're at with the vaccinations at this point, and how the state is rolling out the vaccination. So Nurse Clancy, if you can present that, give us an update.
Thank you. This PowerPoint came in on the 27th. Next slide, I don't know who's doing it, but next slide. Thank you. So this shows you the rollout phases. Phase 1, which we've been in since December and goes through February, is really all healthcare personnel or workers, long-term care facilities, first responders, congregate living settings, home health care workers. Phase 2 starts in February, which is going to be individuals over 75. The next group is individuals 65 and older that have 2 comorbidities. And then comes early education and K through 12 workers, along with the food service, agricultural, and sanitation workers, and then individuals with 1 comorbidity. And then phase 3, April through June, would be everybody. And this shows you that everyone in phase 1 is eligible. Phase 2 is starting on Monday for 75 and older. If you're in phase 1, you're still eligible. Group 3 isn't, 2 and 3 and 4 are not eligible yet. And the last slide shows the sites for vaccination clinics. Eastfield Mall is up and running, and we're working on having more clinics in the city. So for the teachers, I've worked with Commissioner Helen Colton. The nurses have been trained on how to run a vaccine clinic because we helped with vaccinating the first responders. And they have set me up. So now I have access to open up a private clinic on the registration platform. I haven't been trained on how to use it, but I've been granted access, which is the first step. We are going to move out a survey to all our staff next week to find out how many of our staff want to have the vaccine administered at the Springfield Public School sites. And then also who else would be willing to take it, but potentially at another site. And I'm still working on the education plan that we will be rolling out. Any questions?
Ms. Clancy, I just want to thank you for your efforts, and just a quick update. With Commissioner Helen Colton Harris and I spoke with the governor just the other day, and again, pushed for a site in Springfield. I thanked him for that, and also the Lieutenant Governor last evening on the signing up of getting accessibility to that, and that a major vaccine drop was going to occur, which did occur last night, which loosened up more appointments to be made. But Helen and I are working with Library Director Molly Fogarty and Elder Affairs Director Sandy Federico. We wanted to help right now, because I'm speaking with the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, they are putting together more accessibility and helplines on that. So we announced today that our libraries, we have the sites and the contact numbers and the Ray Jordan Center. We will have assistance there to help our senior citizens 65 years and older to try to troubleshoot and allow them to be able to get in line to get that vaccination. We don't want to wait. We wanted to help out right now. And I'm very hopeful on the federal level with President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris now that there's laser focus on this COVID-19, and Johnson & Johnson kicks in. That's a possibility of 100 million doses are being put forth if they're okay next week. So I think it's the volume that's become an issue. So as long as the vaccines keep coming in, we'll be able to get the shots out. And Helen and I have logistically worked with the superintendent and Pat Sullivan and others looking for the our own little 10 locations. I asked the governor, Lieutenant Governor, we'd like to have our own vaccines and do a little more intimate type activities in certain settings if the vaccine is available. But I'm happy that's a Eastfield Mall fought for that. And I know they're looking to do 1,500 to 5,000 a day there. Now that opens it up to all of Western Massachusetts too. So we thought it was important, Helen and I, to fight and stand up for our residents of the city of Springfield who might have difficulties getting access or computer access or needed some questions answered on how to go through that. So I'm happy. We just announced that late this afternoon, early this evening. Jeannie, I appreciate all your reference on that too.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you very much, because one of the issues that we encountering with the elderly is that being in Eastfield Mall, it's hard for them to get up there, and then the timing and all that, and then they have to wait. And transportation, it's a big issue when it comes to the elderly. So thank you if you're looking from that aspect, because the problem is with Iffy Mall that it's open to everyone. I mean, not only to the city of Springfield, and it's creating. People have been complaining about that, the transportation issue, and because it's not in a setting that they could go as elderly, so it's very difficult for them. So thank you so much.
Well, that's if I get my hands on vaccine, Helen and I, we're looking strategically at 10 locations. In the meantime, we've told everybody, you're eligible, sign up and get it now on it and get to the Eastfield Mall. But that's what our goal is, as we're doing with testing. Now we're expanding some sites and testing to take it to some neighborhoods or areas where it's needed. But as long as I can get my hands on vaccines, Helen and I, again, we cannot run a massive, this is state-run operation, some massive operation. But we've been well tested in running the testing sites and the vaccines we've done at this point in time with Helen, Jeannie Clancy, our nurses, AMR. So that's our goal, Maria, because we want, you're right, some residents is a little difficult. So if we could have 10 satellite areas, not that we could do massive numbers, that's what we ideally would like to do. And I'm hoping we can do it. But in the meantime, I'm glad it's in Springfield. It is open to Western Mass, but it is in Springfield. And a lot of the, whether young or old, you don't have to be a senior citizen. Sometimes it's tough to traverse that computing and being able to get on it. So that's why we didn't want to wait. We moved on it, and we're going to try to help the best we can to facilitate answering those questions and troubleshooting, or if there's an issue getting it to the state.
Thank you.
Because we just announced that. Discretion.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jeannie, do we know if we're getting Moderna or Pfizer? Do we know what vaccine we're getting?
I don't know for sure, but I would think it would be Moderna. That's what we have started our clinics with. But I'd be willing to vaccinate with any vaccine that became available.
All right.
Great.
I'm just curious to know which one. Thank you.
Yeah, Jeannie and Helen have been a great team. Great. We're doing everything we can to support the team, but they're doing great work. Pat's always been great.
Is there anything more on that? Thank you for indulging, because I just wanted to update because we just announced it late, just before the school committee meeting, put it out.
Yeah, so we just wanted to get more information on it now. Patty has an article on ventilation upgrades that was in the newspaper. We're going to send that out to you, but it's very positive about the efforts that we put forth in the city for $1.4 million, and she's projecting it up on the screen now, that we put into these ventilation upgrades and the different strategies based on the type of systems that are going on. So we'll get that out to all of you, but it's very, very positive to see what's going on. And Springfield's doing more than anyone on this in the Commonwealth. So, again, the whole team is pulled together as a city to say, how do we make our buildings as safe as possible for our students and our staff? So that work's going along and going great. There's an article that details all the work, but you can see some of our folks in the picture there on that. Lydia, Dwayne, and the team are working very, very closely with Helen Colton Harris, again with Jeannie, on the whole sports program. And I asked Lydia if she could do a quick sports update as to what's going on right now with that.
Thank you, Superintendent. So thanks to the committee, we were able to get our winter sports season off the ground. Unfortunately, we had to pause the season out of an abundance of caution and following all of our contact tracing until February 2nd, until all the student athletes and coaches will be tested again, at which time we hope to resume the sports again on February 5th, depending upon those numbers. But we're hoping that even if we do have some cases that we can get the students that test negative back into practice. But it's been a group effort between us and the commissioner, who has just been so helpful with everything that we do around sports.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Martinez. Any questions or comments on Assistant Superintendent Martinez's report? Superintendent Ward?
Yeah, thank you. This morning I went down with Pat Roach and we took a walk, just as we've been doing it occasionally, through Brightwood and Lincoln to see the progress being made. It's just absolutely spectacular. I see Maria nodding her head, and I'm sure she's driving by, but really exciting how it's all coming together, and the progress is absolutely spectacular since I went through a little bit ago. So it's really coming out. It's nice to see a really good design on paper kind of evolve into a building that is positively spectacular. So, and really reflective of what that community wanted and have been asking for years, but just absolutely spectacular, the work that's being done there. And I know Maria probably wants to say something now about it, but you're going by every day and seeing it, so it's got to be exciting.
Yeah, I go most every day and see it, and seeing the change and seeing it from the engineers and the architect and seeing the reality of it. It just, and it makes a beautification to the area also, because it looks so beautiful, you know. So yes. Barbara, you gotta feel the same way when your schools are done.
I was gonna say yes. I'm looking forward because we had a meeting last week, community meeting last week. With Pat Sullivan and Ellen. Yep. So I'm gonna be smiling just like you in a couple of months.
Coming together, and I'll tell you, to see it go from the planning into the reality is absolutely incredible. And we have the same type of planning process with with Homer and DeBerry. So it was really exciting. But to go through today to see the progress that's been made and it really coming together is really exciting for our kids. So a real positive.
And I say, Ms. Perez, I want to thank you because you were key in making sure the community input was there. Barbara has been key with the Homer DeBerry. I also want to let everybody know we coordinated to finally get that tunnel done. That tunnel will open in concert with the school, right, Lincoln. That makes safe traverse for our North End residents and families to get back and forth from school from the railroad tracks there. So that's what everybody working together in a can-do administration. So it is an exciting time. And Barbara, yeah, in not too long, we'll be doing the Homer DeBerry moving forward at the MCDI area there too. So thank you. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Mayor. And last item I have is I was asked to develop a protocol to deal with communication on sensitive safety personnel type matters to improve communication with the school committee on that. We've pulled the team together. We've already sent out some communications. And, we have Azelle, our attorney, helped us draft the process on this and pull it together. And Melissa Shea, the CSOs, and I, that will form a rapid response team. When something comes up, we'll try to get information out that we can get out. And of course, the attorney will give us close support relative to what we can and can't put out, because a lot of these issues are sensitive. So we've met several times and we've sent some communications out already, and we look forward to continue working together as a team to improve that communication. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent Ward, especially on that last note there. I know that was of concern with the school committee and some sensitive issues of what we can and cannot say and what needs to go off. So thank you for your follow-up on that. Any questions or comments on the superintendent's report?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. So we'll get a copy of that protocol?
We could send a copy of the protocol out to you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question, sir.
Ms. Naylor, yes.
Will we be able to also have a discussion at some point as to what the policies are regarding sexual harassment and whether it be staff member or student to student, just so that we have a better understanding of what the protocols are internally and externally?
Yeah, I'm sure we can go over policies with you. Absolutely.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Well, we do, yeah, we've got policies in place. It might be time just to get a refresher on them. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Naylor?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Naylor.
Maybe we can get that on the next agenda to get a refresher, just an overview of those policies that we do have in place. And
Well,
that, if people think that there's any need to tweak it, we can send it to an appropriate committee and get that done.
Ms. Attorney Phelps, please.
Yeah, it's really not just policies, it's Title IX and the adherence to the Title IX and the fact that the district has a Title IX coordinator both for staff and students, and the process that is disseminated and was required by law that the district with fidelity follows. So happy to put together that along with the Title IX coordinator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Naylor?
May I?
Yes, Ms. Hirsch?
May I ask, in addition to that, could we get a refresher on what the policy is around transportation following sports events? So for example, are coaches allowed or personnel, school personnel allowed to transport students? Do we have a policy on that?
I think we do, but.
So can we just get a refresher just so we know?
Yeah, so let us check into that and get back to you on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Good. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Ms. Hirsch, if you're done. Okay, Ms. Perez, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, could we have it beforehand so that when we have the meeting, if we have questions, we could just not them down, please?
Send out the, yeah, I think we should. We'll put it in the packet.
Right, are you talking about the transportation for sports events?
No, the first one, the staff, the harassment.
Sexual
Title
harassment,
IX,
Title IX.
Yes.
The Title IX, it's also on the Springfield Public Schools website. It's on, it's required to be on most publications, but happy to give it to you in a packet. Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments pertaining to the superintendent's report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to unfinished business. Okay, yes? No? Okay. Hearing none? No? Well, Ms. Hirsch, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I do have a question / comment, and I'm not sure if it goes or if it should fall under the superintendent's report or under new business. It's regarding an item that we voted on. The school calendar. Can I ask it during the superintendent's report, Attorney Phelps?
Well, I guess it depends on what the question is with regards to the fact that it's already been voted on and the discussion for that. But
So can I do it under new business?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anything else on the unfinished business? Okay, hearing none, new business, Ms. Hirsch, please.
Thank you. So I noticed after the fact that when we voted on the calendar, that the calendar highlighted, and I don't need to share my screen, but that we looked or we voted as far out as 2022. And June of 2022, June 19th, which is a new state holiday, that year it falls on a Sunday, which means that it gets observed on that Monday. So, which would be the 20th. So I just checked the Secretary of State's webpage. So I just want to make sure that we note that that would be an official state holiday for our employees / kids. If you want to do the research behind that, that would be great. But I did notice, I know that when it falls on a Saturday, we observe it on a Saturday, but on that year, June 2022, it falls on a Sunday.
That can be adjusted. Attorney Phelps?
Yeah, so what we'd need to do is bring it back before a vote at a later time to amend the calendar. So, yeah, that's good catch. It is new business and appropriately commented on. So, yeah, it would need to be adjusted and brought back before the school committee.
Thank you, because when it was on Saturday, it was just observed that Saturday, so that's a great catch. We didn't know that.
Thank you, Ms. Searles.
Good catch.
Any other new business at all?
Yes, sir. I have one other thing. I had asked a few months ago about an equity committee, and we had some emails going back and forth as to whether or not it would be reasonable to add another committee. I know that we have a demographics special committee coming up soon. So I wanted to see if we can add that to the agenda for a discussion as to whether or not equity committee would be separate from the demographics committee. I think it will be, but I think if we need to have a discussion on it, then that might be the place to have the discussion.
I think once Mrs. Perez has a chance to do that, what she just talked about, and get all that completed, then yes, we can have it. But it needs to be done with Mrs. Perez committee at this point.
That's what I'm asking. Can we add it to the agenda for a conversation? Mrs. Perez.
Mrs. Perez?
Yeah, see, that's what I was trying to do through the staff committee. We need to meet. I wanted the subcommittee to meet because we already got the diversity, inclusion, and racial equity. So let's have let's meet on the subcommittee, and then we could entertain to charge it to the full committee after we discuss it in the subcommittee. So because we all belong to the racial to the racial and equity committee at some point through the dire committee. So let's bring it to the subcommittee and then discuss and bring it to the full board. What I'm trying to say.
Fair enough.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other new business? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Vice Chair Collins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Naylor. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Naylor,
Yes.
Attorney Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Hurst,
Yes.
Ms. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mayor Sarno.
Yes, more than sufficient vote. This matter passes. Everybody stay healthy, stay warm. Thank you for watching and God bless.
Bye, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.